24 candidates. And as the campaign lasted from March 9th until the election, which was July 6th, there were 4 polls done every month. And in every poll, inevitably, I was second after Feinstein, proceeding to general election, and the candidate that the party establishment endorsed at the very first day of the campaign, Elizabeth Ankin, was always behind me. She was dead last in the very first poll. She did gain some votes, but still she was behind me.
Right.
The latest poll was done 2 days before the election. The results were announced a day before the election. It showed me that it showed 24 candidates. Feinstein first, I'm second. 2 of us are going into general election, and keep in mind, with 24 candidates, you can't get too high of a percentage because so many people are running. On average, if you divide by 100% by 24, you get about 4% per candidate. But it showed me with 11%, second to Feinstein. And the next day, when they announced the results, the official results of the election, they said that I wasn't second out of 24, I was fourth or fifth out of 24, and I did not proceed to general election. And what was even more interesting, that I didn't have 11% as was steadily shown for some 4 months, but only 3.2%, and that did not make any sense. It cannot drop 8% within 1 day when it stayed steady for 3-4 months.
Okay.
So at that time, I got a phone call from somebody who was a relational database expert for NATO and for U.S. Air Force, and who is an expert in computers. And he told me that he ran for office before, and he found interesting inconsistencies. And he actually reported this to FBI, and this been reported a while ago. What's happening in our databases, particularly in the state of California, we have multiple individuals who are 200 years old, 150 years old, 100 years old, and still they're showed as voting. So clearly that's fraud. Also, we found there are certain regulations of Vote America, Help America Vote Act, National Voter Registration Act, and so forth, where for registration to be valid, you need to have all the information: birth date, the place of origin, the driver's license, and so forth. And he found in Orange County, in Los Angeles County alone, 545,000, over 545,000 registrations that were invalid because they were missing important information. So that's a serious issue, because this number is higher than the difference in votes between me and the second place finisher. So I brought one of the actions just recently here in California, saying that we have a serious problem. Our voter registrations are a complete mess. For all we can see, we have hundreds of thousands of invalid voter registrations. Also, I submitted to them a case, a precedent case from the state of New Jersey. They had something like this happening in New Jersey, and in 2006, United States of America, Bush administration sued New Jersey, demanding that they clean up their voter bases. And what's interesting, after their voter bases were cleaned from all of those dead people voting and invalid registrations and duplicate registrations, suddenly the governor, Democrat that ran the state, John Corson, was thrown out of office. Chris Christie won. He cleaned up the economy of the state, balanced the budget, and so forth. We're seeing something like this happening in Florida, where the new governor, a Republican governor, is attempting to clean up the voter registration and voting rolls. The problem in the state of California is that our Attorney General is a liberal Democrat, not just a liberal Democrat. Kamala Harris was on the board of Obama for America. Also, she is the sister-in-law of Tony West, who is number 2 or number 3 in the Justice Department. And
okay. Keep going. This is getting good now.
Yes, Tony West is a well-known bundler for Barack Obama, and also he was on the board of Obama for America. So we have a clear conflict of interest. I have submitted information to Kamala Harris twice by certified mail. I had verification. She got it. She also got information on Barack Obama. And, of course, she didn't even respond. The same thing for our Secretary of State, Deborah Bowen, who is also a liberal Democrat. So the legal action that I brought in regard to election fraud includes all of this information, plus all of the information on Barack Obama, him using a social security number that was never assigned to him, him using, of course, the birth certificate that is invalid, and so forth. I already had 2 hearings in that case, and that's proceeding. Also, very important, I have a very important case in the state of Indiana. And keep in mind, on my own dime, I fly to all those different states. I flew to Indiana, and I will be flying again. The hearing is going to be August the 8th at 9 a.m. I'm sorry, at 10 a.m.
Okay, this is August the 8th. Now, where is this again? What? Tell me again.
It's gonna be in the Superior Court in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
Judge S.K. Reed, R-E-I-D. And why Indiana is so important? I've been researching state after state, and I found that in the state of Indiana, they have a very favorable statute. It says that the name of the individual ballot, the name of the individual on the ballot has to be the same as in his birth certificate, and that's the law in the state of Indiana. I also found somebody who is a Democrat, who is a co-plaintiff in this case, who actually was sued because his name on the ballot was different from his name on the birth certificate. Now, even if you were to believe that the piece of garbage that Obama posted online claiming to be his birth certificate is correct, he still cannot be on the ballot because in his birth certificate he is listed as Barack Hussein Obama II, and on the ballot he is just Barack Obama. For that reason alone, he needs to be removed from the ballot. It's just clear violation of their statute. And see, I need just one state to get the ball rolling. So the hearing in Indiana is going to be August the 8th at 9 a.m., and I'm asking everybody who is in Indiana to please come and support me. It means a lot. Last time when I was there at the hearing, the courtroom was full with Obama supporters, young brainwashed kids that, you can tell they were quite hostile. So it's very important to have supporters there. I also have a case in Mississippi going. I have a case that was application for stay of the primary results for Obama in Georgia, and this case is now in front of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, John Roberts, and we're waiting for the decision from him. And I have a case in Washington, D.C. in the Court of Appeals. We're waiting for decision in bank. In regards to Obama's Social Security number, I have requested under Freedom of Information Act the application for that Connecticut Social Security number that Obama is fraudulently using. I'm waiting for results there. And then, of course, the case that we discussed earlier, the hearing, that's the case against Obamacare. And the first hearing there is going to be August the 10th, 9 a.m. in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles, and it's going to be Judge Dolly G. And as I explained, what many people don't know, that in 2,800 pages of Obama tax law, they have a provision that is just buried there that says that you can get an exemption from paying Obama tax if it is against your religion, your religious sect, or division. And
now, folks, I don't want to interrupt, ladies and gentlemen. In case you're joining us late, we are joined for this hour by Orly Tates. She is an attorney. She's a dentist. She's a very busy woman. She's got a number of cases filed against Obama with respect to his identity, and a case with respect to voter fraud in California. whatever she takes I want, because my goodness, I couldn't keep up with this lady if if you paid me. I don't think. And of course, her website is OrlyTatesESQ.com. That's Orly Tates TAITZESQ.com. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Orly, but I wanted to give you a chance to take a breath there, and also to get your website out. And the next case, and I do want to just promote this, ladies and gentlemen, the next case that she's going to be involved in is going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana on August 8th. And we need anyone in that area to attend to support Orly Tates. It's that important. As a matter of fact, if we have the opportunity, Joe and I would like to drive out there as well. It's probably a day drive, but it's that important. It's not in California, where we'd have to take us, a couple of days. It's in Indianapolis. But Orly, thank you for allowing me to get that in there. I wanted to give you a breath as well. Go ahead and continue. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow of thought, but I wanted to make sure people knew this.
Sure. Oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you I'm driving in a bad area. If by any reason we get disconnected, I don't hang up on you. Please call me right back.
We will.
The next case, it's extremely important, and this case has to do with Obamacare, with Obama tax. As I stated, there is a provision there. It's a buried provision that states that if purchasing insurance is against your religious belief, you will be exempt. And as we know, according to Sharia law, purchasing insurance is considered to be a form of gambling, a usury, and it's not allowed. So what will happen? We have 7 million Muslims in this country. They will still get the health care. They will not going to be turned away from the hospital. But the problem is that the cost of this health care will be on our shoulders. And I filed a legal action. I asked to certify this as a class action lawsuit, stating that this is clear violation of equal protection under the law under the 14th and 5th Amendment. It's a violation of due process. It's a violation of First Amendment right to freedom of religion, and it is a violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Bottom line, you cannot be discriminated based on your religion. So I named this case not just Obama tax, but I am referring to it as a Judeo-Christian Obama tax, because this is going to be a tax on Christians and Jews, and Muslims are going to be exempted.
So let me get this straight, Orly. Oh man, my blood pressure now. So what we've got is this Obamacare exempting Muslims, but still covering them and making the Jews, Christians, and all non-Muslims cover or pay for the coverage for the health care for the Muslims in this country. That's just, I mean, that's the bottom line, right? I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and he's given waivers to his big corporation buddies. I mean, all the way we've turned fascist, and the government is in bed with the corporations and vice versa, creating laws together, et cetera, exempt from taxes, exempt from Obamacare, because it's too expensive for them.
Yeah. Now, Orly, you are from the former Soviet Union, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you know.
I'm just frightened. I'm absolutely frightened. When I step in the courtroom after courtroom and I see the corruption in the judiciary, I see how the judges are just grabbing at straws and coming up with some cockamamie excuses to dismiss cases, not to hear the cases on the merits. It's just frightening. I had a hearing in California in my election case on Friday, and I asked for an emergency stay of the certification of election. And one of the arguments that I brought was Obama's lack of eligibility. And the judge looks at me. He read the complaint. He read the exhibits. And he tells me, well, how long was that going on? 4 years. So basically, he was just telling me, oh, just drop it. This is unbelievable. We have such corruption. Those judges are part of the establishment. And it's interesting, when you see the magnitude of the election fraud, you can realize that the judges are actually the product of this corrupt system. They're the beneficiaries, the judges, the congressmen, and they keep this fraud going because, if this comes out, it will also show the magnitude of corruption in the government. For example, with the Social Security number, and we know that the media is on the take as well. If it will become known that we have somebody with a stolen Social Security number sitting in the White House, people will start asking questions. Well, how many people with stolen Social Security numbers are in positions of power, and how many of them, in general, are, for example, getting all kinds of benefits? And I talked to John Sampson, who is a retired officer from the Department of Homeland Security, the retired deportation officer. He stated that according to immigration and deportation community, we have not 12 million. We have 42 million individuals who came to this country either illegally or they came here legally but overstayed their visas. They are here illegally. And majority of them fraudulently use Social Security numbers which are either Social Security numbers of others or numbers that were never assigned, all kinds of bogus Social Security numbers. We have an enormous problem. And I think when people realize that, they would be just grabbing for guns and pitchforks.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Orly, as an investigator, lately I have seen, and both of us, Joe and I, have seen a lot more Social Security fraud in this country than ever before, and it goes unchecked. The authorities don't care anymore if you try to report it. It used to be back in the 80s. At least you would get some sort of response, but today, no, we're not getting any response.
Basically, we're seeing criminal enterprise running the country. That's what it is. For example, what I'm seeing in courts, the level of corruption, I'm seeing clerks routinely manipulating the dockets, the judges manipulating the dockets, coming up with decisions that are against the law and the facts. I had a case in Pennsylvania where a court reporter, I believe, got some type of consideration, and she removed 14 pages from the official certified transcript and neatly arranged the other pages as if a cross-examination of a witness, which was very detrimental for the other side, ever existed. She just erased the whole cross-examination, and I reported this. To the presiding judge. It was Judge Eduardo Robreno in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. I reported it to the chief judge of the district, Judge Bartlett. I reported this to the chief judge of the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, chief judge of the circuit, which was Judge McKee, big Obama supporter, and they did absolutely nothing. They buried, they swept everything under the rug, and the same court reporter who falsified an official certified court record transcript is still working there. And you can imagine how much damage this woman is causing to how many people up to date, because corrupt judges and bureaucrats are just covering everything up. We have a criminal enterprise running the country. I don't think I've seen that much criminality, even in the Communist Soviet Union.
Wow.
Orly, you're right. We are run. This government is full of corruption. A couple of things. One, We're getting some people in the chat room saying that your audio's kind of low. I don't know if you can do anything to fix that. We tried on our end.
Okay.
And the second thing, this is a legal question. There's an article out on Breitbart, outsourced, Obama campaign raises money in China again. Is it illegal to raise campaign contributions internationally?
Well, let me tell you, it is legal if there is a provision saying that the campaign contributions are collected only from the U.S. citizens who are residing in China. And I looked at this, and from what I understand, on the invitation, they had a notation stating that this is an event only for the U.S. citizens who are residing in China or residing in Europe. So as long as it is for the U.S. citizens, then it's not illegal. However, I don't know how much is being checked. As I said, I'm seeing voter rolls that are just full of the names of people who have no birth date or who are born 200 years ago and are still voting. We've seen donations coming to Obama 4 years ago from people who claim to be U.S. citizens by name of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. There were complaints to Federal Elections Committee. I personally wrote to Federal Elections Committee time and again. I wrote to FBI. Thousands of people wrote to FBI, and absolutely nothing was done. For example, with judges, I just read an article yesterday. In the state of California, there are nearly 1,800 judges, and every year there are 1,100 complaints against judges to the Commission for Judicial Performance. And just to give you an idea how little is being done, millions of dollars are paid to this commission. However, out of 1,100 complaints, only two judges are being reprimanded, and only one judge is removed from the bench once in 2 years. So on every 2,200 complaints. And, when people take the time and write a complaint, typically there is a reason. Out of 2,200 complaints, only one ends with removal of a judge.
Now you, Orly, here's what I'm going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play a clip. Orly's heard this before. Well, Orly's lived this. I shouldn't say heard this, but Orly's lived this. You see, when you expose corruption in this country, when you dare to take on the establishment, when you've got your facts in order and then have the guts to go on the opposition's television program, I want you to hear this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a clip of Orly Tate's on the O'Donnell. What's his first name, Joe?
Lawrence.
Lawrence O'Donnell. I couldn't remember that. Okay.
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Yeah. Now this. Okay. Now this is how the opposition treats individuals.
These people are ruthless. They are hypocrites talking about rhetoric of other people when they're tame, and while their rhetoric is completely hateful. And,
right.
It's just a joke.
But I think it's important for our listeners to understand what Orly is up against here.
Look, she's crazy. I invited a crazy person on the show to see if a crazy person, faced with the thing that the crazy person was trying to get for 2.5 years, could say something responsive, something human to the document that was released today that she's never seen before in her life. And she wants to play with all of her other kids' toys, all of her other crazy documents. I did not expect this to go this way. I thought she was going to address the birth certificate. We were told she was going to address the birth certificate. She's afraid to address the birth certificate. Obviously, great. This just gives us more time for Barney Frank. We'll be right back with Barney Frank.
Okay. And I remember seeing that live because I was watching your set. I knew you're going to be on, and I just felt I felt that he did not give you the time or the quarter. He didn't give you the quarter to do what he asked you to do, and he set you up.
Yeah, not even a chance to explain the difference, between the claims they made of the certificate of live birth being the only document, then the birth certificate coming out, then
and how it relates,
anomalies,
and how everything relates. So, so that was a cheap shot, but I just wanted to give our audience a taste of what you go through day in and day out, and this is by Lawrence O'Donnell. And this is after you could not respond, by the way. First of all, he wouldn't let you respond live on air, and then this is after he took you off air, and you couldn't fight back. So.
Oh, he actually switched off the sound, so I could not respond. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But look, we have to fight, because if we allow somebody who is a criminal, who is a usurper, who is laughing at the whole nation, who is using a forged birth certificate, forged selective service registration, a stolen social security card, and sitting in the highest position in the land. And it's interesting that the way the birth certificate was forged, they even made a smiley face out of the name of an uncle, basically telling us, we're laughing at you because your judges are all so corrupt and so dirty that we can pull anything, and those corrupt judges are just going to swallow it and accept it because they are under marching orders. And so we have to confront those judges.
Yeah, we do. Now let me ask you a question, Orly. And this is first of all, ladies and gentlemen, you can find all of Orly's information. That's Orly Taitz, TAITZESQ. Orly Taitz Esquire is what it stands for. OrlyTaitZESQ.com. We're going to have a link up on our website to her website as well. But let me ask you, Orly, from what you've seen, everything you've experienced, if all of these lawsuits go south, let's just say you don't win. Nobody wins anything, and whatever else is going on fails as well. How do you see this year's election turning out? If we have one.
You know what? I'm very concerned because we have massive elections fraud. And I'm afraid that even if people vote for Romney, they will pronounce Obama as the winner of the election simply because our voter rolls are full to the brim with bogus voter registrations, illegal aliens, duplicate registrations, dead people voting. It's extremely dangerous, and that is why I have to win. I absolutely have to win, and that's why I work 24/7 on this for 4 years now. Tomorrow we have a press conference by Sheriff Arpaia. Hopefully he will provide more information. I believe he will be providing the information that I actually gave him on the Social Security number.
Okay. Yeah, I know you provided that information. I follow the timeline on this, and folks, things are not exactly how they appear all the time. Okay, but Orly, I have kind of a feeling that he's also going to get into the paternity of. Well, it's more than a feeling of the paternity, the lineage of Obama, suggesting that Obama Sr. is not Obama's father. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why in the world would he go into this. To me, that would only weaken the case because I've seen some reports saying that Frank Marshall Davis was Obama's father, and if that's the case, then they will sort of gratuitously give Obama an American citizen father. So I'm quite suspicious. Why would they do this? Bottom line, we have perjury. We have a birth certificate that is clearly forged, that was created on the computer recently.
Orly, do you know who created it? Do you have, and you don't have to say the name. Do you have any suspects in mind?
Well, yeah, of course there are a few suspects. One of the issues, we know a person who is definitely complicit is the registrar of the Department of Health in Hawaii, Alvin T. Onaka. They could not have released it without his criminal complicity. This man belongs in prison for what he is doing. There is no question about it. Also, another person who is complicit is current Lieutenant Governor of Hawaii, Brian Schatz. He was the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hawaii at a time, and he falsified the certificate of candidate. He changed the wording, and he removed the wording that the state of Hawaii requires, the wording that should say that he is eligible according to the U.S. Constitution, and he signed a falsified certificate of candidate. I found something very interesting regarding Brian Schatz as well, and that's the fact that he went to Kenya before he became the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hawaii and later lieutenant governor. Looks like that was an award that he got from the administration. But he went to Kenya, and you can find it also in Wikipedia, where by some reason he went to Kenya to study to be a public servant. That sounds kind of ridiculous. Why would an American citizen go to Kenya and learn to be a public servant there? What did they teach him?
Okay, so yeah.
That's a big question. So that's another question. I'm not saying he's a forger, but I'm saying he's complicit. Nancy Pelosi is complicit. By the way, I filed an official complaint, violation of ethics complaint against Nancy Pelosi. And this complaint was filed with the House Ethics Committee because there was a change in the certificate of candidate that she signed for the state of Hawaii. Also, keep in mind that sometime in 2009, two people were criminally indicted. One of them was a person whose last name was Akira, and last name, and another person, his name is Vivek Chandra. Akir was the chief of cybersecurity for Obama, and Chandra was helping him. These two individuals were caught creating bogus positions, bogus employees, collecting salaries for those people. And when they were arrested, I believe in Chandra's house, they found multiple forged birth certificates, fraudulent birth certificates. So we know that there is a high probability that these two individuals are somehow complicit. And keep in mind that, as I said, they both worked for Obama administration in top positions of nothing but computer security.
Wow.
And then, of course, we know that Bill Ayers, Obama's close friend, admitted in his book, Fugitive Days, that he himself created over 100 bogus Social Security cards when he was on the run. He actually, in 1 year alone, he created over 100 bogus Social Security cards. When he went to cemeteries, he looked for names of infants who died young in early age before they got their Social Security numbers. Keep in mind, years ago, they didn't get those numbers at birth. They got them at age of 15, 16 when they need to start working. And what he did, he went to the county recorder's offices. He got the birth certificates for those deceased individuals whose names he found on grave stones in the cemeteries. And then he submitted applications for Social Security cards in their names and gave addresses like of a motel where he stayed or some PO box. So this way he got over 100 bogus Social Security cards. So there's a high probability that, of course, William Ayers is involved. There are a lot of people who are involved who need to be prosecuted. There is no question that Michael Astro, who is the Commissioner of Social Security, is aware of what's going on. And actually, I'm asking people to read my lawsuits, particularly the one that I have submitted in regards to Obamacare, because I'm saying it needs to be nullified against the individuals because of violation of equal protection, but also because an individual who was never eligible signed Obamacare. So I provided all of this information there, so people need to read it and people need to get the information.
Okay. All right. Now, folks, I know you're having a hard time hearing Orly, and Orly, I know that you're probably not talking under the best of conditions. You're traveling and you're using a cell phone. All of this information and what Orly just said is basically is definitely go to her website. That's Orly Tate's ESQ for Esquire.com, and read the read the pleadings, the law, the briefs that she has filed, the legal briefs that she has filed. Now, Orly, what's the most important of all the things you're dealing with right now? What's the most important case? Is it the Indianapolis, Indiana, on August 8th case that we're looking at?
Well, Indianapolis is extremely important for two reasons. As I said, first, they have a statute that says that the name has to be the same as the name in the birth certificate. Also, in Indianapolis, in Indiana, they just recently, only a few months ago, threw out of office their Secretary of State for minor violation of statute, where he moved and he didn't update his address and his voter registration card. They threw him out of office and they criminally convicted him. So with this happening in the state of Indiana, it's shocking that they are doing nothing when I am providing all of this evidence against Obama.
Well, how much out of pocket have you spent, do you think?
Oh, thousands and thousands of dollars. Keep in mind, when I went to Georgia, I brought 7 experts, and I paid for their travel, airfare, hotel. I also paid another attorney $2,000 to come, and we did a mock trial a day before. I wanted to make sure that I don't leave a stone unturned, so we did a mock trial with witnesses. I also brought a tech person who manned the projector, all of the evidence. And by the way, I have a DVD of this. So it cost me over $14,000 just that trial in Georgia. As you know, there was one corrupt judge who sanctioned me $20,000, saying that it is frivolous for me to even challenge Obama, particularly challenge him representing being an attorney for members of the military.
Well, I think you were charged under the Vexatious Litigant Act or something like that, or charged as a...
No, there's no such. No, it just was a crazy judge who just said it's frivolous and that's it. And I mean, he violated each and every law in the book. And as a matter of fact, now in my latest case, I am bringing actually a RICO charge. RICO meaning racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. And what I'm saying that Obama for America is a RICO organization because it was created with a criminal goal of defrauding American people and putting in the White House a usurper, a person who was never eligible. And also it's RICO because a number of individuals were complicit and acted in concert as part of one organization. And I am in my case actually in Mississippi and here against Obama tax, Judeo-Christian Obama tax, I am bringing as defendants Attorney General Eric Holder. Also, I'm bringing former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. A number of high-ranking individuals are defendants in a RICO action where not only they might have to pay quite a lot in damages, but ultimately they might end up in prison for that, because you can bring felony statutes in RICO. And I'm considering bringing this corrupt judge, as one of the defendants. We found out that there are all kinds of ties to that judge, and clearly he was corrupt, yes.
Wow. So, maybe this is none of our business, but did you end up paying that money, or are you're still? I mean,
I had to, because they threatened me. They said that they would put a lien on my house, and I could not do it to my husband, my children.
Sure.
My husband and I worked all our lives for our house. I couldn't do that, so I had to pay this, and of course, people did help me. They were.
Otherwise, yeah. I mean, look, I know how that is, and welcome to America, by the way, Orly. And folks, Orly is, and I have to say this, we've got, there are different people fighting this fight, and I don't know, I just feel that Orly's the most maligned of everyone, because...
Well, I'm doing the most work. I was the first.
Yeah.
I was the first one who found this, that Obama is using a forged birth certificate, and I was the only attorney who's been pushing this issue for the last 4 years. Arpaia actually is yet to speak up on this. Hopefully he will talk about it tomorrow. But, nobody dared to speak about this issue. I'm the only attorney who brought RICO charges. I'm the only attorney who disclosed the fact of Nancy Pelosi and Eric Holder and Brian Schatz being criminally complicit. And because I'm bringing the most explosive charges, I'm being attacked more than anybody else. Plus, I brought all legal actions. There were a few attorneys who were involved in this battle, but typically they would bring one case, it will get dismissed, and then those attorneys will just give up. And you can see that, I'm not a person who gives up. For me, defeat is not an option. And I have 6 cases going in multiple states, and that's a lot of work, 24/7. I actually hired a paralegal who is helping me because I just can't do it all. And I have to pay her salary. And
man,
so it's very important for people to help.
And folks, look, I believe in Orly Tates. Otherwise, well, both Joe and I do. Otherwise, she would not be on our program. And she is doing the work, and it's just incredible to watch. But I want to ask you a question, Orly. Bill Gwatney, the Arkansas Democratic Party chairman. That name rings a bell to you, I take it, right? Bill Gwatney?
Yeah. He was gunned down when he tried to speak up specifically on this issue. It was, I think, a day before the Arkansas primary. Democratic Party primary, yes.
Right.
He was gunned down. And actually there were a number of suspicious deaths of people who were planning to speak up on this issue. And there were threats. Yes, and I brought this actually in several of my cases. I wrote about it, but we're yet to see something being done. We have such corruption among judges.
Is there any way, Orly, to fight the judicial corruption? I mean, who do you turn to? I mean, it's...
I've went, as I said, I've seen unbelievable corruption, and I brought complaints with the bar associations of several states. For example, here's one example. When I had a hearing in Indiana, I subpoenaed Secretary of State of Arizona because he received Arpaia's information, and he also received letters from 1,200 individuals who were urging him to investigate this. He went on the radio. He said that he's not going to put Obama on the ballot in general election if he will not provide his information. And when I asked Arpaia to appear, he, through his attorney, who is the Assistant Attorney General of Arizona, wrote a letter to the judge saying that they do not have any information of any fraud committed by Obama, and I should be sanctioned for bringing a frivolous action. So I wrote a bar complaint against this attorney because I contacted her. I said, look, you have all this information. I called her. I emailed her. She had all the information. She flagrantly lied. And some kind of Obama-lucky employee of the Arizona bar sent me a letter saying that they did find a reason to go after her.
Okay, so just to recap, just so I understand this, you had an action in another state, that being Indiana. You needed,
Yes.
or you subpoenaed Arpaio, or the Secretary of State from Arizona, I should say, because that Secretary of State was in receipt of the documents from the Maricopa County cold case posse. The Secretary of State, through the attorney, said, "No, I'm not going to go there because I don't have to, because I don't have any information of fraud." Is that what you're saying? I mean, do I understand?
Yeah, she wrote a letter to the judge in Indiana case saying that the Secretary of State of Arizona does not have any information, which was a flagrant lie.
Wow. Okay. Oh man. Okay. But now, did Sheriff Arpaio come to your rescue, or did you ask him to come to your rescue, or was that just kind of like?
You know what I did, and he never cooperated. He never helped. As a matter of fact, when I had my case in Georgia, keep in mind, I provided Arpaio with all the information. He had it when we had the case in Georgia. I subpoenaed him to appear at trial. I paid for other witnesses to come. I paid for the airfare, for their hotel, and Arpaio, through his attorney, sent me a letter saying that it is too burdensome for him to travel to Georgia, and he never appeared. I asked him to appear in my cases in Mississippi and Indiana. He never appeared. From what I understand, I got a phone call from somebody who was at a meeting of the Sheriff Arpaio's posse, and this lady, she was deputized as well. She actually wrote a book about what's happening there, and she said that actually Jerome Corsi was running the show, not Arpaio as a sheriff, but Jerome Corsi. And during this meeting, they basically were telling Arpaio and John Sampson, who is an investigator who testified for me before, not to cooperate with me and not to help me. And they somewhat cooperating with one attorney, Hagmann, who works with Joseph Farah.
Right, Larry Hagmann, right.
And Hagmann, and just to give you an idea, Hagmann had just one case in Florida. As a matter of fact, there was a case that was brought by somebody pro se. Hagmann made some changes, filed First Amendment complaint. It was dismissed right away, and that was it. And I worked on this for 4 years. I developed all the evidence. And from what I understand, the biggest reason is money, because I remember talking to Joseph Farah, and he told me that he had an arrangement with Gary Creep where he was advertising Creep and was soliciting donations for Creep, but in exchange, they were splitting half and half the donations. They had a PO box set up, and they were just splitting half and half.
Really? Whoa. Okay.
So now, with Arpaio, if you look at Wellner Daily, here I have 6 cases, and really big cases and explosive cases. Even the left noticed that Wellner Daily is not covering those cases. And as a matter of fact, when I ran for U.S. Senate, not only Wellner Daily did not help me, they actually wrote a big article supporting my opponent.
Yeah, I saw that. They are promoting only Arpaio and Hagmann, and I'm pretty sure that there is a financial arrangement where Joseph Farah gets a piece of the action. And okay. Well. Okay. Just to be legally clear, that just so you don't get in trouble, this is your suspicion as opposed to a verified fact, or were you told this that there was that there was a financial arrangement between Joe Farah and Gary Creep?
Oh, Joe Farah himself told me this 4
Okay.
years ago when I started actually this case. I flew to Washington D.C. and Joseph Farah actually did a documentary where he did a documentary about my work, but he never showed it, and he wanted the same arrangement with me, where we split half and half. And the difference between me and Gary Kripp is that Gary Kripp just sort of had one case where he joined me, maybe 1 or 2 cases in 4 years. I had like 35 cases, and I traveled all over the nation. So I actually have expenses, huge expenses in this case.
Yeah.
So I could not do what Gary Kripp is doing because, he's mostly advertising. For 4 years he's been doing mostly advertising, but did very little work, just 1 or 2 cases. And I've been doing all the work. I just couldn't afford to do 50-50 split. And then Farah told me that, another option for them to advertise my work if I pay, and the fee that they quoted me was, I think, $7,000 for every advertisement. It was very expensive. And I couldn't even set up this 50-50 split because when I contacted PayPal, they said that they don't have ability for people to donate and split like this. So anyways, when Farah saw that it's not working out, it looked like he decided to promote people who do
wow. To further their best interest. No, I understand what you're saying. I do understand.
Orly, we have just a few minutes left before the top of the hour, and we have a lot of listeners that came on late. Can you recap? Do you have what legal cases do you have, and when are these taking place?
Yeah, just kind of laundry list kind of format here.
Sure. 6 legal cases. The next hearing is going to be in the Superior Court of Indianapolis, Indiana, August the 8th at 10 a.m. before Superior Court Judge S.K. Reed. Indiana is very important because they have a statute that says that one's name on the ballot has to be the same name as on the birth certificate. Therefore, the birth certificate is at play, and Obama's name in the birth certificate is different from the one on the ballot because in his birth certificate he's Barack Hussein Obama. It's also important because they removed their Secretary of State out of office because of a minor violation. Another case that is very important is the case against Obama tax, where I am bringing challenges stating that this violation of our equal protection rights, because in Obama tax, people who state that it's against their religion to buy insurance, like Muslims, who consider insurance to be a form of gambling, are exempt, while Christians and Jews not only are not exempt, but will have to carry this on their shoulders. And therefore I call this a Judeo-Christian Obama tax. The hearing is going to be August the 10th, 9 a.m. before Judge Dolly G. And actually the first hearing, I'm asking the judge to recuse herself because she is an Obama appointee. And one of the arguments in this case is not only it's unconstitutional against citizens, and as violation of their equal protection rights, but also it was signed by ineligible president. And I'm saying, well, if he was not eligible to sign Obama tax, he was not eligible to appoint to the bench Judge Dolly G. She's a big supporter of Obama, and I'm asking her to recuse herself so we can reassign it to another judge. Also, my case from Georgia was assigned to Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court of the United States. Its application for stay, and we're waiting to see if he's going to deny it or he will refer it to the full court. That should be within a week or so. Next, we have a case in Mississippi. This case was brought back in January. It's still going on. I included RICO, racketeering charges against a number of individuals. It's going on since January. It's in federal court before Judge Wingate. also, I have a case in the Washington, D.C. area called Astro on Obama's Social Security number, and I have a case of election fraud and RICO, and that's in California Superior Court. Not only this is a case challenging Obama, this is also a case where I bring evidence showing that we have 200-year-olds, 150-year-olds who are still voting, and individuals without birth date who are still voting.
Wow.
That's clearly illegal. So we have 6 cases. So I hope people go on my website, orlytatesesq.com, and you can just read. All of those cases are there. And also you can, and I hope people donate and help me, because I have to fly to all of those different states. It's very expensive. Each trip, even if I go for one day, just airfare and hotel and car rental, parking, I mean, it's over $1,000 right there, each and every trip. And with 6 cases in 6 states, it's very hard. So that would help a lot.
Orly, Joe and I travel, and we travel. We understand how expensive it is, and certainly we will carry that torch for you and promote your work, and certainly anyone who can see fit to donate to Orly, because I'll tell you what, 6 cases. Did you do all those from memory, or do you have them written down in front of you?
By memory. I'm getting a bit older, but I used to have a very good memory. Yeah, but I do everything by memory.
Man, I'll tell you what, it's amazing. We're at the top of the hour, Orly. Any closing thoughts? Anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover real quick before we cut you loose here?
Most important is for people to confront each and every congressman, each and every senator, each and every official, and demand answers from them. Confront those corrupt judges. When please look up meetings with judges, particularly high-ranked federal judges. We need to confront them and demand answers. That's extremely important. We need to win this battle, because think about it. If this usurper would be allowed to be our president for 4 more years, where he has nothing to lose, he is not worried about re-election, he can cause so much damage that 1,000 years would not cure. So we have to win. So please join my cases. As I said, a couple of them are filed as petitions, requests for certification as class action cases. File criminal complaints in your states, and demand meetings with your officials, and send information about those meetings.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. I know that you're doing 100 things at once, and God bless you. And please come back on again. And you know what? We do hope to see you in Indianapolis on August 8th. We've got some legal matters we got to handle that week. Hopefully, we can arrange it that we can get there. Orly, thanks again, and please come on our show again.
Okay. Thank you.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Orly Tates, Esquire. Boy, I'll tell you what, Joe. What do you think? I mean, seriously, what do you think of all this?
Well, I really admire Orly Tates for putting in the effort that she has. We always say that we can't sit back and expect other people to do things or try to accomplish things we want to get done.
Right.
And she has been on the front lines, as she said, using her own money, fighting the fight for the rest of us. And but honestly, I don't know if Obama will be taken out of there. I highly doubt it. He is an untouchable. But
I agree.
Still worth a fight.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, we've expended the first hour of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back after about 3 minutes. Stay with us. Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of this Monday, July 16th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. First hour, we were joined by special guest Orly Tates, a leader in the birther movement, exposing Barack Obama as not a natural-born citizen. And
she's also, smacking around the Social Security fraud and voter fraud as well. So 3 different areas: birth certificate, Social Security fraud, and voter fraud. Good stuff. And you know, Joe, I got to tell you something. You were you part of that 3-hour interview I did with her?
No, I was not.
Boy, I need some memory boosting pills here. But I got to tell you, you know, a lot of people exploit her because she's sometimes difficult to understand, and sometimes she gets her facts. I mean, she's got all of her facts, but she tries to get so much in that it's almost like, I don't know.
I know.
I mean, people make fun of her, and look, she shouldn't be trifled with. I mean, she's powerful.
Oh yeah, and she's doing a great job. She has been fighting, putting her money, her life on the line, her reputation as an attorney to fight for what she believes in. And if more people, if everybody had the passion that she did, this world, especially this country, would be a much better place.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, and I want full disclosure in terms for the audience here. Full disclosure. Look, I know, for example, some of the people we've had on say, I don't really like Orly Tates. I think she's not doing a service to the cause, and other people then Orly might say, well, I'm being badmouthed by this person, that person. It's like, let's everyone, if we want to accomplish this massive objective, stop the infighting, put the egos at the door, just leave them outside, the room, and let's get together and let's go forward.
Yeah.
But I do know, and I want to say this: one of the people that volunteered to help Orly, I know personally, okay, and not in a good way either. And this this woman that volunteered to help Orly did the same thing to Orly, which she did to me, and that she gained my confidence, okay, and she sabotaged the living daylights out of Orly. And I got to tell you, I'm not gonna mention any names, but this is several years ago now, and it cost me a relationship with the Newark FBI. It did a number of things, and the reason I mention that is because there are people out there that just live to do that.
Yeah.
And
it's their job.
That's right. And of course, now this person is part of the Obama truth teams. But anyway, that was a good interview, and I hope to have her on again. And yes, Joe Arpaio's interview or news conference is tomorrow, and I do have a problem with the extent that they're funneling it through WorldNet Daily. But I do understand. On the other hand, I understand the need for a media outlet since the mainstream media is not covering this. Okay, so it's just kind of a weird situation. I'm not saying anything against the WorldNet Daily or Joe Arpaio by any means, because I like Joe and I like Mike Zullo and I like Jerry Corsi. I like all those people. But it's just odd that they've got to do it that way. But I do think that they're going to come out with some information questioning the paternity. And I know that Jerry knows. I know that Joe and Mike know. Arpaio and Mike Zullo know, the investigators, who forged the birth certificate. And we're working on something else that somebody brought to our attention as well. Savannah Guthrie. It has to do with Savannah Guthrie taking a photograph of the birth certificate, the piece of paper. What she took a photograph of, ladies and gentlemen, and think about this: the document that she photographed with her cell phone is not the same document that was put up on the website, and that can only happen in one way, and that's through the complicity of the White House. Okay, yeah. So. Take it away, Joe. It's on your.
Well, I guess we'll open the phones and start taking calls at 661-244-9839. A couple of things, though. One, some news on the TSA. The TSA has invaded Chicago's Union Station. It is expanding its reach across the spectrum and all travel ports in America. It is now... as Wired magazine is reporting, that small police departments across America are collecting military-grade arsenal thanks to a program that allows them to get their hands on the surplus equipment, including all these police departments and the TSA, the Department of Homeland Security, are all gearing up. But I have an audio clip here I want to play. It's a short clip. It's on the TSA, and it is a local news clip. I'm not sure if this is from Alabama, where they have put TSA on the highways, or what, but we're going to listen to it here, and you guys, we'll get into what's wrong with this afterwards.
I'm sure we will.
Here we go.
Terrorism experts say a retaliation attack for Osama bin Laden's death is inevitable. Terrorists are expected to aim for more vulnerable soft targets like shopping malls, even museums. CBS 2's Hazel Sanchez reports.
They are places jam-packed with people, pedestrian malls, shopping centers, and stadiums.
Yeah, I feel safe, but of course, in the back of my head, I know that things can happen.
Counterterrorism expert Yuval Aviv says terrorists seeking revenge for Osama bin Laden's death will turn to attacks less dramatic than the destruction on September 11th, focusing instead on soft targets like hotels, places of worship, and mass transit hubs.
It's easier, less complicated for them to carry out. What they're going to achieve, if they're successful, is to kill as many people as possible.
Security consultant David Bohm says the future could include security checkpoints entering all soft targets, like your local department store. Bohm says even with a police presence, the areas are vulnerable.
The reason they're called soft is because it's so easily accessible to anyone. There has to be security checks for the safety of all people.
Added security is a turnoff for some New Yorkers.
There's a police presence, and they search someone with a backpack. Somebody who looks not really suspicious, but it's random. So I would go if that is the case. Not if everyone is being searched.
It's better to be safer than sorry.
Despite the challenges to secure high-volume soft targets like here in Times Square, security experts say one of the best lines of defense already exists and doesn't cost a thing.
We are millions and millions of eyes and ears. We need to assist each other and keep each other safe.
Freedom coming with an increasingly heavy price. In Midtown, Hazel Sanchez, CBS 2 News.
Soft target security is a long-standing practice in Israel, where people and their possessions are carefully examined in many public venues.
All right.
Well,
now that
I feel
you just heard,
I feel safer already.
A local news report on why it is good and why you need the TSA on your highways, your streets, your department stores, your front porches, your garbage cans, etc. Okay? They are conditioning the public into accepting this unconstitutional branch of government, this unfederalized, unbonded, fake law enforcement tyrannical agency, illegal agency that violates the rights of American citizens on a daily basis, and these people are insane. You have the right to be left alone. You have the right not to be searched without probable cause. Like they say with this health insurance thing, that you're being unresponsible. We're not going to pay for you being unresponsible by not getting health insurance, just like you get car insurance. Well, you choose to get car insurance because you choose to get a car. You don't have to get a car. What if the government mandated you to get everybody to get car insurance, and maybe you haven't owned a car or driven in 30 years?
Well, think of it locally, Joe. I mean, in our community, and I'm sure in your community, listeners, the older people are yipping and yapping, and rightfully so, about having to pay, well, not, it depends on your viewpoint, but about being required to pay school tax when they have no children in school, or if they never had children or whatever, and yet you've got to pay school tax on, for your property.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, that could be kind of a.
And I want to read something here. The Obama's. Remember this video we watched where they said Obama administration said the war on terrorism is over? I think it was John Brennan.
Yeah.
Well, he said this in that speech. Why should a great and powerful nation like the United States allow its relationship with more than 1 billion people around the world to be defined by the narrow hatred and nihilistic actions by an exceptionally small minority of Muslims? Okay? So taking his explanation here, let's take Muslims out. Let's read it again. Why should a great and powerful nation like the United States allow its relationship with its own citizens to be defined by the narrow hatred and nihilistic actions by nobody, no American citizens?
Right.
I mean, it's insane.
Well, okay. Look, I think we can both agree that the Muslim Brotherhood and the religion, well, the cult, as IQ al-Razuli would say, the cult of Islam does export violence. And if you look at all of the violent acts, all of the terrorist acts that have occurred, now I'm not talking. Okay, not understand this. I'm not talking about the ones that are facilitated by governments, such including our government. But I'm talking about the sudden jihad syndrome type attacks, the shooting at Fort Hood, for example. They're Muslim in nature. I mean, the perpetrators are Muslim, so you've got to recognize that fact. And we are, but schizophrenically, as you point out, we're actually supporting the Al-Qaeda in different countries. So yeah. I mean, it's just bizarre. Okay.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean,
but we're fighting really. But you're right, though. We're fighting a perpetual enemy. That it's not. I mean,
it's not real. It's not real.
Correct.
There is a very insignificant faction of people who might be extreme or are going to cause harm in any society. We see it all the time. Are they calling the zombie attacks that are still occurring terrorism? I mean, are they rolling the TSA out on the streets? People are already naked. They don't need to go through the body scanners who are committing these attacks. Seriously. I mean, Chicago. There's more murders in Chicago in a weekend.
Yeah.
And when they ban guns, and the murder rate goes up. Where's the you want to put the TSA? Put them in the places, the drug-infested war zones in the inner cities. But that's still illegal. I don't agree with that. But if you're going to put them somewhere, put them somewhere where they could be useful.
We need to abolish we need to abolish the TSA.
Right.
And the people that are flying don't fly. Simple as that. And I mean, don't fly because I've got to fly for work. Okay. Well, what percentage of the country is that? 1 day, 2 days, a week, if we can do it, just boycott the airlines and say, look, get the TSA the heck out of the airports at the very least, or we'll bankrupt you by not using your service.
And I'm going through a little bit of an article I'm putting together, and part of that is the successes against the TSA that we've had, one being the opt-out day, also another one being the TSA getting off the buses in Houston, and there's a couple more. So it shows if we make a stance, if we resist these people, that they will back down, and this is what we need to do.
Yeah, and I've found, as I was doing some research here on my own, I'm looking at the different instances of, and I haven't seen a lot of people do this, or a lot of investigative reporters do this, but I'm looking at the different instances where there have been direct confrontations between TSA people and citizens, and it seems like if you know what you're doing and you hold your ground, you can back them down. They're afraid, and they know, and because they know it's illegal. What they're doing is illegal.
Yeah, and I want to say this real quick. I went over this probably 4 months ago on the show. I have a book written by Zbigniew Brzezinski and Carl Frederick. It's entitled Totalitarian Dictatorship and Autocracy.
Right.
In this, there's a chapter called Propaganda and the Monopoly of Mass Communications. Excuse me. It talks about totalitarian dictatorship and the regimes and how terror is used.
This is planned.
Terrorism and terror is a chief characteristic, a deliberate effort to intimidate. The governmental terror seeks to frighten those under its sway into conformity and obedience. And it goes on to state that because terror reinforces the monopoly of mass communications, and indeed a good part of all communications, totalitarian propaganda can be understood only within this context. And it talks about how the human emotions that are played off of from the government-created terror allows for the monopoly of the mass communications. And I mean, this, you guys got to get the book, but we can go through it more later. But it is amazing that this book's from like 56, okay? and it talks about, the Nazis, it talks about communists, it talks about China and all the dictatorships, the totalitarian, fascist regimes, and their characteristics, their qualities, what made it work, what didn't, what stopped it from furthering.
Well, it's what you're saying, and this is planned out by Brzezinski. The globalists and Brzezinski being the face on this one.
And I want to read this last thing. It says, in a totalitarian dictatorship, all means of communications are centrally controlled by the government.
Right.
What did we just see? The executive order where, the government took control of the communications. And then it goes on to say this, though. Regardless of whether they are also actually owned by the government, as in the Soviet Union, or continue under private ownership, as in a fascist country. Hence, they are not available for the expression of criticism or even adverse comment. The monopoly of the channels of mass communication is reinforced by the control of the means of private communication, and it says the postal service, and more especially the phone and telegraph.
Right.
And it talks about wiretapping as a common practice.
Oh, it was
That's
back then.
56.
No, it was when Hoover was part of the FBI. I mean, wiretapping was well. That's a whole another show.
So when they say mass communications and the total control and monitoring of those communications, that means your email. That means your phone. That probably means your conversation in your house somewhere.
Yeah, and we used to have the thing called infinity mics, where when I say we, they used. Actually they still exist in one form, or in a different form, in a more refined form. But you could, back decades ago, for example, the government could put could turn your phone into a listening device by calling a number, and you could still be on the hook switch, but the microphone in your phone would be a microphone for the government to listen, and that's something that it just
they utilize. They've expanded to new technologies and appliances and everything.
Right. Now I want to say one thing too before, and I didn't talk to you about this before the show, but I want to remind everyone and how quickly we forget and how quickly things happen. And it was 16 years ago tomorrow, the TWA Flight 800, which was a Boeing 747. Made of the Mist, not Made of the Mist, that was the other one, I apologize. TWA Flight 800 that went down over Long Island, New York. That was July 17th, 1996, at 8:31 Eastern Time, and they took off from JFK Airport. Joe, I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do remember it, and I do remember you talking about it, and if I remember correctly, they're not sure what caused it. They said there was a hole or an explosion, and you say it's a bomb. And the official story differs from the real story, and I've never really looked into that.
Yeah, well, this is something that I've talked to quite a few people, about this. Folks, TWA 800 was, as far as I'm concerned, it was not the center fuel tank. And if you look, for example, on Wikipedia, the alternative theories exist, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous in terms of what they what they're talking about. So I'd like to Pastor Paul's on tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I wanted to do these announcements.
Right. Go ahead and do.
We got some announcements. Tomorrow night we will be joined by Pastor Paul from 8 to 10, normal time, normal show, and then on Thursday, let me see. Thursday, I'm looking at the date here. Thursday the 19th, and let me just double check this in my email. I don't know if you guys remember, we interviewed a man by the name of Josh Tolley. He is a radio show hosted from GCN, Genesis Communication Network, and we will be on his show from 10 to noon Thursday, the 19th. Then on Friday, we are going to be on Radio Preacher Man show. The same time, 10 to noon.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I knew about Friday. I wasn't sure about Thursday at the time, but Jason Tully is a widely known.
Josh Tully.
Josh Tully, widely known, and
we'll post the links.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, something you sent me, Joe.
Well, yeah. Here, before you read that article, I want to read you this. The second thing, the fact check, unless that's what you were going to read.
Actually, yeah. Fact check. Because
factcheck.org.
Yeah, go ahead and take this. But, ladies and gentlemen, remember what we said on this show just about the Civil War, okay? Just keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay. Factcheck.org says, still no international gun ban treaty. And I posted the link in the chat room. It says, question, does the Obama administration intend to force gun control and a complete ban on all weapons for U.S. citizens through a United States treaty? Answer, no.
Wait, stop right there. That question is a flawed question, okay? Does
the Obama administration intend to force gun control and a complete ban on all weapons for U.S. citizens through a United Nations treaty? No, the answer is no.
When did you stop beating your wife? When did you stop beating your wife?
Yeah,
okay.
All weapons are not guns.
Well,
first of all. Second of all,
there's so much wrong with that question. I can't even.
The question should be: is there a small arms treaty that Obama is pushing to get passed or to be ratified by the Senate?
Well, yeah, and yes, there is.
Yeah, there is, because the next article we have, or the next news piece we have, is from Forbes.
Well, don't dismiss this, because this gets into the Reuters article. Now, it says the U.S. reverses stance on treaty to regulate arms trade. Of course, it did. What we are doing is we're becoming signatories to the United Nations Small Arms Trade Treaty.
Yeah, It's not just the arms trade treaty. It is Agenda 21. You got the rural councils. You have the Clean Water Act. You have all these acts and laws that have passed with backdoor EPA regulation and international regulations.
But please, ladies and gentlemen, read too. If you do nothing else, I just beg of you to read and also to forward. There are two articles of specific importance. One that was posted late last night, early this morning, misleading gun owners on the arms trade treaty. That's written by yours truly. It's on HomelandSecurityUS.com. That's called Misleading Gun Owners on the Arms Trade Treaty. It explains that this is not an overt gun grab treaty, and it names names. It goes in and explains how Media Matters and Snopes and Arms Control Association, how they are taking the truth and twisting the truth so you don't even recognize the truth anymore, okay? And
that's exactly right.
Okay, and that's deliberate. And then the second article is Obama's backdoor gun control efforts. That's from July 8th, just a week prior, and I wrote that as well. If you read and pass along those two articles, you'll understand exactly how this is being set up by this government. Yes, the intent is a gun grab, but it's incremental. You have to understand how you got to understand their playbook. Their playbook is, look, they know that Americans are not going to take UN troops, American police, or anyone else coming in after their guns. But it's an incremental erosion of our Second Amendment rights through a global authority. And you know what? And this is what caught my eye. If this passes, there will be a civil war. That's that's a combination of an email and a Reuters news story. But no, we are going to be signatories to this treaty, and just by being signatories, and this is what people have to understand, just by being a signatory without ratification, just by being a signatory, that binds us by the Vienna Convention that states that we are not, as a nation or individually, allowed to do anything to subvert the attempts to ratify that treaty. Is that clear? Is that clear? I mean,
yeah, you can't. Once the treaty is in place, we are not allowed to change it or disobey it.
No. Excuse me. Not forget about. Oh yeah. Okay. Even if it's not, even if it's never brought before the Senate for ratification, there's a two-step process basically. The first step is United Nations. A bunch of countries get together and they all sign this treaty. Well, there's 153 nations, and then us. We're going to sign it. Okay. Now, once you sign that treaty, and again, people have got to please understand this because this is so important. Okay, once that treaty is signed, just by merely signing it, we are expected. Let's see here. I'm sorry. We are bound by the Vienna Convention on Treaties. And we are disallowed from any act that would, quote, defeat the object and purpose of the arms trade treaty.
Technically, yes.
Not technically. That's about international law.
Yeah, I don't care what international law says. I only care what the Constitution says. And we are not allowed to surrender sovereignty no matter who does it or how they do it.
I agree. No, I agree with that. But I'm just
it's just like Obama's presidency. It is illegitimate.
So where are we going with this? Well, this is a backdoor gun control treaty. They're going to establish international gun registries. You don't think that's a step toward gun control? Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going to establish ammunition mark. Tell us to mark ammunition.
And like I said a couple weeks ago, that this is not, even if they pass the treaty, you will not see them grabbing guns right away. It'll be a two-step process or a multi-step over time process. And now there's an article here out of the New American that says the UN Arms Transfer Treaty on Small Arms, Gun Grab Gradualism. And it goes on to say the United Nations is polishing up a global arms treaty transfer treaty this month in a New York convention that would create a global registry of private ownership of firearms. And it goes on to, I'm not going to list everything that's in there, but this is, like we said, look at Chicago, look at New York, look at the third world countries. And we talked about this, when the police officers make less money, when the military, the law enforcement make less money, some of them will fall victim to, bribes, because the drug dealers are the ones with the guns and the money, and, this is how it starts. This is how we turn into a third world nation. You cut the middle class, you make them poor through overtaxation and inflation and a number of other things, high unemployment. Once the middle class is removed, and that middle class is firefighters, police officers, rescue workers, etc. Then the gangs get bigger. You ban the guns. Look at Chicago. You get a huge spike in murder rates because nobody can defend themselves, so criminals run wild. And now you have a third world nation.
No, and that's what they're going for. Obama, and that's why we had Orly Tates on too, in a way. It kind of all ties together.
Everything this guy does is a fraud and a lie.
Right, but see, you've got the level of complicity, of criminal complicity, that involves this usurper in the White House is unprecedented. And, Orly Tates, God love her. I don't care if you don't like her. I don't care if you don't like Arpaio. I don't care. I just don't care. But you know what? The rule of law is the rule of law. And we are a nation of laws. And we have to abide by those laws that are, by the Constitution, that are constitutionally consistent with the Constitution. How John Corzine, for example, from MF Global is still allowed to walk? Why and how Obama is still allowed to hold office without being held accountable? How the TSA is allowed to reach down your pants and grab your junk? Okay, you know why all this is happening? Because not enough people have got off of their derrieres and said, we're not going to take this anymore. And by God, Joe, you and I, and I shouldn't even say that, through God and with God's help, you and I are going to be, we're going to attempt to be as close to the tip of the spear as possible on this, and to lead the charge to
and our listeners as well. I mean, people like you who listen to the show, who are searching and looking for, new solutions. You understand there's a huge problem that's not being talked about. You understand that America has been under attack, a chemical attack from vaccines, from poison in the food and waters, and has been dumbed down through the mainstream media, TV, entertainment, and does not think for them. The majority of Americans cannot think for themselves.
That's right.
Over 50% of Americans, can't do it. You can talk to them about whatever. If they don't understand it, they haven't heard it on the news, or it refutes what they have heard on the news, you're insane, wrong, crazy person, and that's their rationale.
Exactly, and people like me who adhere to a certain doctrine, a belief system that, hey, the government's always right, and it's unpatriotic to question events such as 9/11. This is my former self, for which I admit, and again I apologize. It's you can listen but still not hear. You could see but still not understand what you're looking at, and it's easy to do. And look, we understand. If of all people, Lord, I understand. It's just not. It's sometimes, and I'm a difficult student, as Steve Quayle will tell you. But I do want to thank. I want to say one thing, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've asked you to spread the word about this program, and to get it out to people. And I was just absolutely blown away by the numbers this month in July.
We have already reached, like I said, and from May to June, we doubled our archive or our total listens on BTR, just this one platform, BTR. And then from June to July, we doubled them again. And then from the beginning of July till now, we have already reached the number that we had for the total month of June.
Well, okay, and basically, and this is something that I really haven't shown you the stats on this, Joe, but I've got them together. One thing that after our discussion earlier today, we have in 15 days, we have reached the 250,000 mark of downloads for our shows in the month of July. I know what you're seeing, Joe. I mean, I know what I'm seeing, but I'm telling you, on all across the board platforms, 250,000. That's a lot of people to reach.
Yeah.
And we want to thank each and every one of you.
From where we have come from to where we are now is a huge difference, a very positive difference, and I'm very proud of the audience and feel blessed and happy, and I just hope that the show, the message is what continues to grow.
I always say we'll do this until somebody better comes along, and if that's the case, I'd be more than happy to turn the reins over and say, here, Godspeed, because it's a lot. But I've got to tell you this, I still would never stop that fight, but we only hope that we can help and be an asset to deliver this, or help deliver this country from its it's peril that we're in right now, the peril that we face, and we're going to fight. I'm going to fight to my last breath, and I know, Joe, you will too, and we're going to fight together. And each and every one of you. The reason I brought that up and mentioned that number is just because we're going to have a party when we reach 1 million. In that short span of time, but those numbers are just incredible. But thank you. So go ahead.
question I want to address in the chat room. I just saw it, and it says, "Hey guys, I am none for a violent person," and it says, "How long until we start shooting?" He says, "Really, I fear for my grandchildren's well-being." I'm sorry, I'm reading this and it keeps scrolling off the screen. Basically, how long until this gun treaty turns into something that causes or would have a imminent physical danger to gun owners and people who will protect themselves?
Well, you know what, Joe? I mean, the treaty will be signed on July 27th. Okay, now, just becoming a signatory to the treaty again does not mean anything outside of the fact that we cannot do anything to subvert the forward movement of this treaty. Now, does it need ratification? Of course it does. But so did so many other areas, so many other aspects of this president, the so-called president. Now, how long? I don't know, Joe.
I mean, it depends. It depends on a number of variables. I can give you things to watch for. Watch for the euro collapse. Watch for a food shortage. Watch for a war. Watch for some kind of attack or something to happen, a natural disaster or otherwise major in America.
Yeah, but you know something I had said, I thought this was going to be a very hot summer. And of course, you know, it is a hot summer, literally. But I thought it would be a hot summer in terms of violence. Well, and I guess it is in urban areas like Chicago and so on. But I thought there would be more of a coordinated chaos.
Civil disruption.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't think they have to do it because I think it's going to come naturally with the drought, food shortage, the increase of the TSA, the Small Arms Treaty, the continuing implementation of Agenda 21 through these treaties, etc.
Yeah.
Economic collapse, you know. But we got a friend on the line. We're going to bring on the co-host of Braveheart Radio, John. You're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Good. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce John as the co-host of Braveheart Radio. You can catch them on the internet, True Patriots, and of course, if you're not driving in southwestern or northwestern Pennsylvania, you can listen to them live on the internet. They've got a great show every Saturday, Joan. From what time to what time? 9 to midnight, right?
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
It may get to midnight eventually, but it's actually 6 to 9.
Okay, 6 to 9 Eastern time. Catch them every Saturday night, and we've been humbled by being on their show. They've graciously asked us to be on, and it's always a great time when we're on with them. A group of guys that are true patriots, true American patriots. God bless them. And there you go. There's your introduction. And your website, John.
BraveheartRadio.net.
BraveheartRadio.net. Okay, John, go for it.
Thanks a lot, Doug. You mentioned that none of us can do anything about this treaty, and you implied individually that we cannot do anything about this treaty. What's this we stuff? Can't do anything.
No. You misunderstood me. Under the Vienna Convention, we collectively as a country, okay? Under the Vienna Convention, once a country is